The Lone Star State is known for having the most ghost towns in the US, and there are plenty of little abandoned towns within the borders of this vast territory. From places fit for a chainsaw movie, to desolate villages with ruins from the past. Here are abandoned places in Texas, y'all.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm your host, American Eye, keeping an eye on everything you want to know.
Number 15, Terlingua, Texas. The discovery of what's known as Cinnabar here occurred in 1880 and brought many miners to the area, which created a bustling city of about 2,000 people. Cinnabar is what mercury is extracted from, which we all know is a toxic substance. But nonetheless, miners need mercury to purify gold and other reasons. In the early 1900s, the population rose to about 3,000 people. However, it was clear that this city wasn't meant to last forever, as the mines began to encounter continuous flooding, which meant that getting money was difficult. It's located next to Big Bend National Park, which helps to get some visitors, but for the most part, it's abandoned. Number 14, Forbidden Gardens. Located in Katy, Texas, near San Antonio, you used to have a chance to see a replica of a monument on the other side of the world. They have a bunch of full-scale terracotta army soldiers and a 1.20 scale replica of the Forbidden City in China. This outdoor museum probably isn't something you'd expect to see in China, but nonetheless, it opened in 1996 with funding from Irapun. It eventually closed its doors in 2011 to make room for a new highway, and this park wasn't meant to be. Number 13, FUTURO houses. There are quite a few strange houses out there in Texas that we'll get to later on, and the FUTURO house is certainly one of them. Don't worry, aliens haven't landed on Earth just yet. This flying saucer style house can be found in a few different parts of the world, but this one we see here is abandoned in Texas. This looks like one of the creepier places to explore in the Lone Star State, and this photo was captured from the interior. It looks as though vandals or disturbed people got in there and wrote some messed up messages. The futuristic houses were also taken off the market and were a big business failure. The way they were constructed makes them nearly impossible to disassemble, and it's been sitting on the side of the highway for decades now, intriguing the travelers. Number 12, Toya. Somewhere in between San Antonio and El Paso is where you'll find a little dot on the map known as Toya. If you're looking to really leave behind civilization and enjoy some simple country life, then maybe you could do that in Toya. There aren't a whole lot of people living in this town, with only a population of 90. It has a pretty grim history in the early 1900s, with much lawlessness from some of those no-good dirty cowboys. In September of 1928, Amelia Earhart had actually made a short landing here in this town. The best thing to check out here is the historic high school that was founded in 1912, and it certainly looks like no one's been showing up to class lately. Number 11, CADDO Lake Abandoned House. While the west side of Texas is mostly desert, the east side can get a little bit swampy. The lake is found on the border of Texas and Louisiana and has been utilized by Native Americans well before Europeans even showed up. While many people might believe that New Orleans was simply the only place hit by Hurricane Katrina, that's not always the case. People living in this area had to evacuate as well. Gathering the courage to explore this swampy ecosystem isn't easy, but you might uncover some hidden houses like this one. The lake is currently a host for an invasive plant species which is wreaking havoc on the area known as salvinia. It was introduced here on accident from Africa, and there definitely hasn't been a proven method to remove it just yet. It manages to grow twice its size in only a matter of a few days, and can destroy not only homes, but fish as well. Number 10, Walnut Ridge. This mysterious old-looking house is located in Gonzales, Texas, and was designed for the state-leading architect in 1901. The man named J. Riley Gordon made himself home here for quite a while until it eventually go abandoned. Throughout his career, he was inspired by different places around the world, but especially Auvergne in France. Having a prestigious job such as an architect will lead you to believe that he would want to design a house that was pretty snazzy. While some of his homes were more maintained throughout the years, such as the Dilworth house, this house was a little bit more neglected. Despite it not being kept up with, the house is actually still in pretty good condition for being over 120 years old. Number 9, Benton City. You ain't gonna find much in Benton City except a bunch of tumbleweed and this abandoned school. Why does it seem like there's a lot of abandoned schools in Texas? Benton City was first settled in 1840, and about 40 years later, it became noticeably successful. It was home to 3 cotton gins, a hotel, several grocery stores, a blacksmith, churches, and just about everything you would think you would need during the Red Dead Redemption times. The most notable spot here was the educational building known as the Old Rock School. There's also Benton City Cemetery, which really looks like it could use a groundskeeper. There are people that were buried here that would date all the way back to the Civil War. Close City. No need to come close to Close City anymore because this place seems like it's permanently closed. The town of Close City was built by a cereal manufacturer in the late 1890s. It was kind of an experimental town run by the company called Post, who is actually known for trying to create a coffee substitute breakfast drink made from grain. The town is most well known for its abandoned brick schoolhouse that was built back in 1919. It worked well for a few decades, but later on closed down in 1965. It's currently home to some agricultural lands, but it appears as though the groundwater is getting close to being depleted soon. This means it's only a matter of time before the whole area becomes abandoned. Number 7. Aldridge Sawmill. There is certainly a lot more wood in the eastern part of Texas as opposed to the western part, and seems like the only right spot to build a lumber mill. Some entrepreneurs such as Hal Aldridge from the 1800s saw the swampy forest as a good way to make some money. Eventually, he would build his very own sawmill producing high-quality lumber. Since it was close to a river, the sawmill could export the wood either by boat or by trade. But with all that timber, it wouldn't take much for the place to catch on fire. That's exactly what happened in the early 1900s, and this place went abandoned. Number 6. The abandoned PRADA store. This fancy designer shop was set up in the middle of a desolate area in western Texas. This was actually a permanent art installation, not a random place to do shopping. Scandinavian artists funded the project and wanted to see how the store would look after spending some time in the middle of the desert. The installation was actually quickly robbed of all the designer products like you can imagine, only a few days after it was installed. The store was quickly repaired with stronger windows to prevent theft of the handbags and the shows inside. Number 5. Glen Rio, Texas. This mysterious ghost town straddles the border of New Mexico and Texas and is found along the Main Street of America, or Route 66. Although the population never got to be more than a few dozen people, being located on the border of two different states posed some unique problems. Some mail would have to be delivered to the post office in one state and then delivered to the post office in the other state before it can get distributed. Gasoline prices were different on one side, and drinking laws even differed across the border. Various highways that were constructed made the traditional Route 66 that ran through the little town a little less necessary. The ones who did actually live here moved away. What's left over are some derelict buildings and gas stations stuck in time. Number 4. Bartlett, Texas. The small town of Bartlett was once home to a wide variety of people and was located smack dab in the middle of Texas. It was a good stopping point for people taking the Katy Railroad back in the day, and the first settlers came to this area in 1851. In 1884, it had about 300 inhabitants along with many amenities at that time. It's home to some historic shops which are now historic because no one shops there anymore. According to some of the locals, the economy of Bartlett was severely affected by a Walmart that opened nearby. Number 3. The Leaning Tower of Texas. Not only does Texas have an Eiffel Tower, they also got a leaning tower, or a leaning water tower. They're a little bit more sophisticated than you might have thought. The tiny little town of Groom, with a population of 574 people, has a claim to fame with their leaning water tower. This was originally constructed alongside Route 66, and many passersby were probably curious of how it could lean like that. In Texas, the thing that might come first to mind is that it got hit by a tornado, but that's not the case. An entrepreneur actually struck it with a bulldozer because he wanted to advertise for his business. It was a success for a while, but his trucking business came to an end, and it's still a strange place in Texas. Number 2. CADILLAC Ranch. Located near Amarillo, Texas, it's not every day where you'll see cars sticking out of the desert halfway buried in sand. And on top of it, they're all brightly colored, so it's difficult to miss. The two architects who designed this art installation go by the name of Chip Lord and Doug Michaels. They were always fascinated by American Cadillacs, especially the tail fin. In such a conservative state, it tends to stand out quite a bit, and you'd almost expect these to be used for some kind of target practice. The cars are on private land, so they can do what they want, but the 10 1970 Cadillacs attract quite a bit of attention from tourists along Route 66 and musicians. The cars have lost quite a few of their original colors, but no one seems to mind restoring these with some spray paint cans. And number 1. Bracken Cave. Let's hope no one from China finds these caves, or there might be a lot of bat soup that gets served up. Bats can be found swarming in and out of this opening, almost like locusts in some cases. This cave, called Bracken Cave, is filled with an estimated 20 million bats, mostly the Mexican free-tailed bat that we see here. At night, they might choose to come out and try to search for food, but you should probably be wearing some type of hat to keep them out of your hair. This is considered to be the largest colony of bats in the world, and also the largest concentration of mammals anywhere on this planet. Some estimate that inside this cave, there can be as many as 500 bats per square foot. The floor of this cave is supposedly crawling with carnivorous beetles who eat the dead dried bats that litter the ground. They can also clean a recently deceased bat in only a couple of minutes. It's probably best you stay out of this one too.
Whoa, now that was a cool video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.